welcome to Cole's World. I'm Cole Canoe, author, YouTuber, gamer, and aerialist, and today's video is going to be a little bit of a personal vlog about my upcoming surgery and kind of what has led me here to having to have knee surgery. Yeah, so we'll just get started by saying I am filming this video ahead of time, but when you guys are actually watching it, it is actually going to be the day of my surgery. So if you guys haven't already heard, I am having an ACL reconstruction surgery because I've torn my ACL again. So I figured it might be fun to kind of just share my journey with you guys, as well as some of the things that I've done to prepare for my surgery. This kind of goes back several years. I want to say 6 to 8 years. What was it? 2016? Yeah, so like 6 years ago is kind of when I first injured my knee, because I've injured it 5 times now. And the first 3 times I injured my knee, I actually did not know that they were ACL tears. The first time I was actually doing pole fitness, and I was doing this like specific pole move, and I had to modify it for a performance I was doing because the people at the studio didn't think that it was safe enough. They thought the other version was safer, and the other version that I ended up doing because of their request is what irritated and hurt my knee, of course, because it put more strain on it than it liked. So that was like the first time I injured it, and it was more of like I just like had pain. And honestly, I'd previously had knee pain before in my left knee and had surgery when I was younger, like 22, because like tissue ended up building up in the joint, and it was a long story. Maybe I should just do a different one about that. But I had knee pain before, so I never really got it checked out when I first injured my ACL, that first injury that I had. I just continued doing my normal fitness stuff and whatnot, and then a couple years later, I was actually doing something for aerial silks because I do aerial fitness, and I was doing a move that I had done a bunch of times, and because of the costume I was trying out, because it was for a performance as well, I actually like slipped further into this move than I was supposed to, and it pulled on my knee joint and like twisted a little. And so like I knew I injured it at that moment. I came down. I actually went and saw a doctor then, but they didn't do an MRI for whatever reason, and I think he just gave me a knee brace to wear for a little while and sent me off to physical therapy. I don't really remember if I even did all the physical therapy or not, but you know, I was kind of just given one of those things where it was like, you know, rest it for 4 to 6 weeks and then you should be good kind of thing. And I guess I was, in a sense. So after my 4 to 6 weeks, I just went back into doing the normal stuff that I do. And I think during that time, I ended up starting as a personal trainer after that happened, and started getting like big into fitness and doing a lot of fitness stuff. So I think there was roughly 2 years between each of these injuries. So my third injury, I actually did on a different aerial apparatus. And it was not for a performance this time. It was just during a normal class. Thankfully, it was after the performance that I had literally just done a performance, I think on like a Thursday or Friday night. And then that Sunday was when I actually ended up injuring my knee again. It was just a specific like outside knee hang move. And like, even though I was like squeezing with my joint, it just like rotated slightly, and I felt something kind of like tear or shift or move inside my knee joint. And so I was like, ooh, it didn't hurt. It wasn't painful, but I was like, I feel like that was a bad thing that just happened. So like I obviously came down off the equipment and I stopped, you know, it was towards the end of the class anyway. So I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'm just gonna, you know, and then of course I wake up the next day and I can't really walk. I can't fully straighten my leg or whatnot. So like that was not great. But like I said, I was working as a personal trainer at the time, and because I had injured my knee that second time and the doctor had just kind of like, I don't know, brushed me off in a way, and just was like, oh, just rest for 4 to 6 weeks. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to rest for 4 to 6 weeks, which means I had to stop doing my aero classes, and I was also a personal trainer, so I like had to stop doing all my workouts that I normally do, because I normally worked out like probably 4 to 6 days a week, because I work out a lot. I like to work out. I like exercise. But yeah, so I just like rested it. Obviously, I still had to go to work as a trainer, so I was getting a lot more like movement and working on my range of motion without even realizing that I was doing that. But yeah, I just, 4 to 6 weeks, and then I got right back into my normal exercise routine. I mean, I think I ramped it up. Like, I think I started slow the first week or so, and then like quickly got back into my usual workouts. But I never got my knee looked at, and then it was fine for about 2 more years. And then recently this summer I was playing softball for the first time since I moved out to where I live now. So it had been about 5 years since I had played softball. So I think I had played softball after my first like injury to my knee, but I hadn't played softball since the other 2 injuries to my knee. And I actually ended up pitching this year, so I wasn't doing a lot of like fielding for like my regular season league, and everything was fine. And again, I work out about 6 days a week, which involves running and doing other things, aerial stuff and whatnot, and never had any issues. And then it was like the very first play I got to do. I played in a tournament because I wanted to be able to actually play a fielding position and not have to pitch. So I joined another team to play in this tournament, and it was like our second game of the tournament, and it was my first time out in the actual field outside of like batting and running. And like my first fielding thing, I threw the ball, and like my body twisted, my foot slipped in the grass a little bit, and my knee just twisted in, and it hurt. I felt it. It popped. It was definitely more painful than before. And so yeah, I obviously went to urgent care after that, and this time I got an MRI, and yeah, so I got my MRI, and then I ended up seeing a specialist, knee doctor, just a random doctor that they randomly assigned to me. I did not do research ahead of time, which apparently I should have, but I did not do research ahead of time. I got assigned a random doctor, and I went in, and he shows me my MRI, and he tells me that my ACL looks wavy, and that a lot of it is like old tears, like it's like old damage, where like there were clearly multiple tears in my ACL. And I was like, oh, cool. I had no idea that like I had previously torn my ACL at any point in time until like, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that. And so that was fun. After talking to him, I did more research and looked into surgery and other options and everything like that. And then I looked more into the doctors, because I just didn't really get good vibes from him. Maybe it's because I'm like a queer trans man, and he just seemed a little too traditional for me, but I just didn't feel great about it. And so I wanted to see a different doctor, and I actually did research this time and looked into the different doctors and picked one out that I figured I would like. And of course, it was really hard to switch over because they were like in the same practice, and I had to get permission from the first guy that I saw in order to see the second guy, which was kind of annoying because I was like, I literally did not ask to see that guy to begin with. You guys just randomly assigned me to him, and now you're saying he's my doctor and he has control over whether I could see a different doctor or not, which is kind of weird. Anyway, though, I ended up being able to see the new doctor, thankfully, and decided that I would try physical therapy first and do rehabilitation, because like I said, I work out a lot, I do a lot of fitness stuff, and the fact that I had obviously previously torn my ACL and then was still able to get back into my normal fitness stuff that I liked doing, I was hopeful that I would be able to just do the physical therapy and rehabilitation and be able to get back into doing fitness without having to have surgery. And honestly, there was really no downside to trying rehab first, because worst case scenario, I try rehab and I don't regain the stability that I want or need for my, physical activities that I want to do. And then I end up doing surgery. And honestly, if you do rehab before surgery and strengthen those muscles, your recovery from surgery will be quicker and easier. From my research, I didn't see any downside into trying rehab first. So that's what I did. And of course, in hindsight, I probably should have thought twice before just doing everything that the physical therapists were telling me to do, just because like I said, I work out a lot, so I had a lot of strength and I could do a lot of things still that I normally would have been able to do. And I think that they were used to working with older people who couldn't do those kinds of things. And just because I could do normal forward backward movements didn't mean that I could do side to side stuff or power stuff, agility stuff specifically. Because when you injure the tissues inside the knee, it takes time for that stuff to heal. And so while it was recovered enough to not affect my normal forward backward motions, it doesn't mean that it is healed enough to take the strain of things that are twisting and moving. So they had me doing some agility stuff, and honestly, I was fine doing it the one time through, but then on the way back, it was this weird aligning of bad things where it was I was in the middle of doing the move, which I had just done perfectly fine, the first set with no problems and no pain. But then the physical therapist knocked my bottle off the table, and so the sound of it hitting the floor drew my attention while I'm in the middle of doing these hops, in a forward direction, side to side ish hops. But so I turned my head to look in that direction just because the sound caught my attention as I was hopping, and my knee popped out to the side and felt it crack. It hurt. It was probably the most painful injury I have sustained to date. I fell to the floor. I'm pretty sure I was crying. It was so freaking painful. I was I was obviously a little bit upset because I had been doing good, and I was actually just getting ready to start getting back into my normal aerial training because I had been doing so good. And I injured my knee during physical therapy, so I was obviously very upset, and I obviously at that point knew that I was going to have surgery. But yeah, so I at that point was okay, I guess I'm gonna go see the doctor. He did not ask for an MRI, so not thankfully, but he didn't ask for an MRI, so I did not have an MRI. But I'm hoping that it didn't injure anything else in there and that it was just the ACL again. But I have my surgery scheduled. Obviously, I will probably be in surgery as you guys are watching this. But yeah, so we're gonna do the reconstruction surgery, and hopefully after that I will be able to regain the stability that I want to be able to get back into my fitness exercises. But it's kind of at this place where I have injured it to the point of I do feel instability in my knee when trying to do things as simple as walking, or I'll take I'll take a step and there's this weird compression feeling in my joint. It's really it doesn't necessarily hurt, but it's weird. I can feel that things are shifting in a way that they definitely did not do prior to my 5th ACL injury. So yeah, I am having to have surgery, and I don't necessarily want to have surgery, but at this point I no longer have a choice, because if I want to be able to do my aerial stuff and running and softball, this is what I have to do. It's going to be a year of recovery before I can before I will feel comfortable doing the things that I want to do, because I'm looking more at the long term, and the risk of re-tearing it within the first 6 months is a lot higher. And it can take a year to 2 years for the actual graft that they use to fully heal. So I'm going to be taking it easy for a while, and conditioning and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, so for my surgery, the couple of things that I'm doing to prepare, one is going to be cleaning the house really well, the day before my surgery. I actually bought online like a ice pack that will wrap, like a wrapping ice pack for my knee that is like got the gel stuff inside of it so that it's a little bit more conforming to the body. Because that was one of the things that they recommended getting, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that because ice and elevation are super helpful. But yeah, so like getting an ice pack was like the one thing that I was like, I have to get this for myself because they're not gonna give it to me. Like they'll give me the crutches and the knee brace and all that stuff, but like I want to have a really nice ice pack to use for my recovery, for my surgery. And yeah, and of course I'm doing it right before NaNoWriMo, so that's fun. But I will be vlogging my recovery for my ACL surgery as well as NaNoWriMo. So if you guys want to follow that, I'm probably going to be mostly doing that over on my TikTok. My TikTok is linked in the description below. If you want to follow my vlog journey, I will probably be vlogging every single day, giving little updates of both like how I'm doing with my knee recovery as well as how I'm doing with my NaNoWriMo goals. The first week after my surgery, I do not plan to write. I might write if I feel up to it, but that first week is mostly going to be pain management and working on my range of motion and getting up and moving sort of things, because my first goal post-surgery will be to be able to walk. And that's a fun goal to have when you were previously trying to run like 15-minute mile and a halves, etc. But yeah, so that's a little bit of my backstory. That's kind of what's going on with my ACL. I have to get it fixed. Yeah, I'm at a point where I don't really have a choice in that. So that's what I got for you guys today. If you guys like these types of video, let me know by commenting below, giving this video a thumbs up, or subscribing to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays. I also host weekly writing live streams on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed your time here in Cole's World.